we're going to be looking at graphing linear functions, so just graphing a line. There are a couple different ways that you can graph a line. We're going to look at standard form first. That's our learning target, that's our topic here. So standard form is in the format of ax plus by equals c. This is our standard form. A, B, and C are a number, and x and y are always going to be x and y, okay? So before we get into discussing the standard form and how to graph from there, we need to talk about some other things first. The first thing is a horizontal line. So graphically, if we are on our x and y plane, x, remember, is our left and right, and our y is the up and down. A horizontal line looks like this. That is going to be y equals some number. There's some other things to talk about with this, but we'll talk more about like the slope in 3-2. Then we have a vertical line. So again, we have our x and our y. A vertical line is an x equals some number. Now, to help you kind of remember what direction it goes, because a lot of students will see the x and the y, and so like on the left with the horizontal line, it's the same direction as the x-axis. So a lot of students will say x equals, but that's actually incorrect. It's a y equals. So I like to think of it of what axis is it crossing. So if I'm looking at the horizontal line, that line is going through the y-axis. Therefore, it's going to be a y equals. Same thing with the vertical line. That vertical line is going through the x-axis. So it's x equals. Now, we also have what's called an x-intercept and a y-intercept. An x-intercept is in the format of x, 0. This is where it crosses the x-axis. A y-intercept is 0, y, and it crosses the y-axis. So we're going to use, in standard form, we use the x and y intercepts to graph. This is actually one of the easier methods, depending on what you have for your numbers. It's, to me personally, I like it better than slope-intercept form, which most students know. So determining the x and y intercepts from standard form. So let's talk about that first before we even get into the graphing side of it. So if I'm looking at the x-intercept, I notice here that the y equals 0. So if I'm looking for the x-intercept, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sub 0 into y. So I now have negative 8x plus 12 times 0 equals 48. All right, so 12 times 0 is gone. I'm left with negative 8x equals 48. Solve for x. Sorry, I didn't give myself enough room. X equals negative 6. That is my x-intercept. So the whole point of this is that I'm subbing in 0 into my x and y spots in order to find the appropriate intercept. So on the y-intercept, I'm going to plug in 0 into the x spot. Once again, that negative 8 times 0, anything times 0 is gone. So I'm left with 12y equals 48. Divide by 12. Y equals 4. That is my y-intercept. So once again, you're subbing 0 into x separately and to y separately in solving. So to look at this graphically, you're going to graph the equation from standard form using those x and y intercepts. So on the first one here, I'm going to find my x-intercept. So I'm plugging 0 into y. So 3x minus 5 times 0 equals 15. I'm left with 3x equals 15. Divide by 3, x equals 5. Okay, so what this really means, you're going to plot 5 comma 0 on the x-axis. If you don't remember the 5 comma 0, at least remember x equals 5. Go to the x-axis and plot the 5. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but with the y. So 3 times 0 minus 5y equals 15. 3 times 0 is gone. Remember to drop that negative. So I have negative 5y equals 15. Divide by negative 5. Y equals negative 3. So now I plot 0, negative 3. There is my y-intercept. And as you can guess, your last step here is to connect. Generally, I would tell you to use a straight edge. I don't have a straight edge with me, and it's kind of hard to do on technology. But what you could use for a straight edge is just like the side of a pencil. You could use the side of the calculator. If you would like a ruler, I do have rulers in my room. We can talk about that. And I can get you a ruler. But otherwise, the whole goal is to graph the x and y intercepts. That, in a nutshell, is how we graph from standard form. Find those x and y intercepts, plot them individually, connect.